Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey! Well, we're back again at the Red T-Shirt Club here to talk about all kinds of geeky goodness going on in the world of entertainment. There it is, Nelson and Murdoch. I got a little Rocky action. Rocky beats Drago from 1985. And
I got all my favorite mountains. I got my Space Mountain, I got my Splash Mountain, I got my Thunder Mountain.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But we're going to get into a lot of geeky goodness here today. And thank you all so much for downloading or for listening to us. We're going to get the way this show works is that each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves, take a little bit of break, and jump into our main topic. And our main topic today is the Eternals movie. We're going to do a non-spoiler review of Eternals for you all. Non-spoiler. A lot of people have been asking for all of our thoughts on this movie, so now we're going to put it down in our main event. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Outlaw Nation and on the Geek Buddies. Mike?
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies and a co-host here on the Geek Buddies.
Shit.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Silicon Valley, and Modern Family. And most important credit is another co-host on the Geek Buddies.
And where are we at right now, gentlemen? You both are working on the Strawberry Shortcake series. What episode are we up to now on YouTube, and how many more are possibly left?
Oh my goodness. I believe that we have aired 7 episodes. I think 7 episodes. I think the 8th episode goes, and we have I believe I got announced that we have 40 shorts that count as our first season, but then another 40 shorts that count as our second season. So there are going to be Strawberry Shortcake shorts coming out on YouTube for quite some time, and we are baking up some other stuff as well while we speak, which is why I will be busy for the rest of the day as soon as we are done recording this. My time with you guys talking about geeky things is actually my break for the day, where I get to just sit back and relax and talk about nerdy things before I dive back into the world of Big Apple City.
Nice.
And
Shannon?
for any of our audience that wants to watch anything sort of Halloween centric, our last 2 Strawberry Shortcake episodes have been our Halloween episodes for this year.
True.
So if you would like to check those out, one was written by Mr. Vogel and the other was written by yours truly.
Nice.
It's a spooktacular Geek Buddy season.
And what's the YouTube channel they go to watch it on again?
You can just go to the Strawberry Shortcake YouTube channel. I think the Wild Brain YouTube channel also has it. And Shannon and I are actually also working on a couple other projects together at Wild Brain that we can't actually talk as much about right now, but stay tuned for more awesome animation news, hopefully including some of your favorite Geek Buddies.
Oh, whoa! What? Well,
I said
like
some
of.
Oh,
okay, all right. I like this idea. I like this. Very nice. Very nice.
Almost got in trouble there.
Oh, all right then. Good to go. Well, there we go. Well, let's get into things here. As we jump into it, we're gonna jump in. I think Michael, you lead us off already with the first geek news item. What do we got?
Well, now I'm nervous. I'm going to get in trouble again. No, I don't think this news is going to get me in trouble. I think this is pretty exciting news all around. As any Star Wars fan knows, we have an Ahsoka Tano series coming up, live action, brought to us by Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and starring Rosario Dawson as Miss Ahsoka Tano herself. And as any Star Wars fan by this point knows, we have Hayden Christensen coming in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, reprising his role as Anakin Skywalker. But what we just found out a few days ago, which kind of is the best of all possible pieces of news, is that Hayden Christensen will also be reprising his role in the Ahsoka Tano series as Anakin Skywalker, which means in some capacity, we are going to see Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano together in live action on Disney Plus. I really could not be more excited about this. I've had a lot of conversations with some friends about it who are at different levels of excitement for different reasons, but the thought of seeing these two characters on screen together in live action pretty much blew my Star Wars addled brain, and I'm very, very stoked about it. Gentlemen, what do you think about this not huge piece of news, as far as like it's not a bombshell, but pretty big piece of news for the Star Wars universe?
For sure. Shannon?
Well, I'll just say, of the two announcements that Hayden Christensen has been a part of, and that he's going to appear in Obi-Wan and he's going to appear in Ahsoka, I'm probably more excited for Ahsoka because this is taking place, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So unless it is a flashback situation, which is very possible, we're going to get some Anakin Skywalker Force Ghost action, which I think is really, really cool. Him being in Obi-Wan that is taking place before A New Hope, it's like, again, it could be a flashback situation. Otherwise, I'm like, why are you bringing him back to put him in the suit? And we're all sort of presuming that it's going to be James Earl Jones doing the voice, hopefully. So the idea that we're going to get to see Ahsoka and Anakin have a conversation years after the fact. I mean, I think, for someone that recently got onto the Clone Wars train, that's incredibly exciting. And I imagine will be probably some very emotional moments in those scenes, because thinking about the last interactions that they had, like they were in combat. And so it's really, really exciting. But at the same time, the Anakin Ahsoka relationship that we're used to, it's with two different actors. So I am curious how Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson are going to interact. Like, I have no qualms about Rosario Dawson. I think she's fantastic. She's on Dope Sick right now on Hulu, doing fantastic work. Hayden Christensen, he's been a little more hit or miss for me. So I'm curious if this very long space in between his last appearance as Anakin and his next appearance as Anakin, I'm very curious how he's grown as an actor and how he will be able to grow the character.
Yeah, where are we right now in the timeline if we go with Ahsoka and Anakin? Is Anakin still alive? Is Anakin dead? What's the situation here with Ahsoka and Anakin, Mike?
No, as Shannon just said, 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
So there we go. So 5 years of Return of the Jedi, so he's dead. So this could be a Force Ghost situation, or we can have Ahsoka maybe having flashbacks to earlier interactions with Anakin while he was Vader that was never detailed or talked about before. So just because it's taking place after he's already passed on, it does not mean that there might not be some memories of adventures that she might have had where she ran in to the actual breathing Darth Vader who was alive, and have these back and forths or further the back and forths that they've had since they broke up as Padawan and Master. So that's very curious to me. And Shannon, you bring up an excellent point. Like, we're having two different actors. Hayden Christensen, I mean, the feeling when Julianne Moore took over for Jodie Foster was not a good one, but we've had multiple lectors and people have enjoyed those lectors to varying degrees for sure. So even from the beginning with Brian Cox, which was the first lector. So just because someone's replacing them doesn't mean they can't still bring that chemistry, but there's a possibility that they might not, especially with Hayden Christensen, who hasn't been doing much at all in the last 2 decades. Really, so in your mind, you're like, well, how much are we going to get, or a little bit under 2 decades? How much are we really going to get of his abilities here? How much connection is he going to have with Rosario? And what are they going to be able to really imbue, I guess, for lack of a better term, imbue their interactions with the weight and the years of what we've seen before in other pieces of media detailing these two and their connection? It's very curious, but I'm all for the Hayden Sons. I'm all for it. Let's have it. Let's bring it back. Let's everybody hug and forgive each other, and let's move forward. Well, we did with Ahmed Best and with Jar Jar Binks. Let's do it here with Hayden Christensen and Anakin and move past this nonsense and move forward as one big happy Star Wars family. It's so funny. The sequel trilogy now feels like it's so far in the back after Mandalorian and everything else, and Book of Boba Fett coming, and all these and these animated and Bad Batch and all this stuff coming. It just feels so back into this is another positive step forward for Disney since that sequel trilogy, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I've said this before, and I'll say this again, and I'll stick to it. I think in the long run of Star Wars, when we look back at Star Wars 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I think Ahsoka Tano may be one of the most important characters in all of Star Wars. And I think that as much as I love the original trilogy, and I could talk about my love for the original trilogy, it's literally what I grew up on, and I love Luke, and I love Leia, and I love Han, I think that the story of Anakin and Ahsoka, which started as something that Star Wars fans absolutely despised when the first Clone Wars movie came out, has sort of in a lot of ways become one of the stronger relationships even than Luke and Vader, because Luke and Vader didn't spend as much time together. Like that father-son story, as central to Star Wars as it is, and as powerful as it is, like Luke, I am your father, one of the most important iconic moments of cinema. But having watched Anakin and Ahsoka spend so much time together in Clone Wars, and to have them then reunite as Vader and Ahsoka in Rebels, and then to see where this could potentially move forward in their relationship, whether it's through flashbacks or Force Ghost situation, kind of combination of both, hopefully. I just think it's really going to solidify this relationship as one of the bigger relationships in Star Wars. And Johnny, to your point about the Vader stuff, I don't think we'll see that, only because and again, there's been countless examples of Star Wars sort of fudging the lines of what was said to make room for stuff. But in Rebels, when Ahsoka and Vader are sort of reunited, it does seem pretty clear that that is the first time that Vader has been aware of his apprentice since their last meeting. So I don't know that we're going to see some Vader Ahsoka flashbacks, but beyond that, I think it's anybody's guess what we're going to see.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely right. I forgot about that, because I mean, I'm thinking of how she sensed his turn in the final season of Clone Wars,
right?
And how that might play with that. But sure, those are excellent points for sure. Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I'm curious. I'm excited, and I like that they're doing this. But yeah, the story's got to work, because Star Wars fans are going to lose their effing mind if you don't get this thing right. Because people were already going after Rosario for the look of Ahsoka. There was a lot of anger over that. So anyway, good stuff for sure. Let's move on to our next thing here, and of course we'll keep up to date and find out when all this is happening. But it's a ways away, so we shall see. All right, let's move on to our next thing here, and that's Batgirl. Look. Speaking of Hayden's sons, let's talk about the Fraser sons. This is happening now, big time. Brendan Fraser. Now, people are falling back in love with this man, and we're discovering him again. You know, everybody loved him in those 90s, early 2000s films. He was building a resume, building a reputation. People really enjoyed his work, and over the last 5 years, he's steadily, slowly kind of come back into our public consciousness, doing a number of TV shows and movies and what have you. And then Doom Patrol, certainly something to put him forward. That Ridley Scott, the series that was akin to the Ridley Scott film about that true story back in the 70s, the kidnapping. He did a great job there. And now we have this news that broke yesterday with a Hollywood Reporter, that he is going to be in Batgirl. And supposedly, they're announcing that he's going to be playing the villain. At least the Hollywood Reporter is announcing that he's going to be playing the villain. And this is according to Boris Kitt. And Boris Kitt is rarely wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And Batgirl, of course, stars Leslie Grace in this. But the rumors are, is he going to be playing Firefly? And some people have mentioned Carmine Falcone. Now, someone who hasn't finished The Long Halloween yet, I'm sitting here thinking, how many Falcones do we need? Do we need another Falcone? I'm more excited about the possibility he could be playing Firefly, a criminal who's like obsessed with setting shit on fire. I'm down with this idea, but the idea of being Falcone, I don't know if I 100% like it. What do you gentlemen think about A, the idea that Brendan Fraser is coming back and is going to be a part of the DC universe and in Batgirl, and B, who he might be playing as a villain in this?
So when it was announced that he was initially going to be playing Firefly, some outlets had said he was playing Firefly. I'm like, that's awesome. Like that's a great Batman villain that hasn't made the leap to the big screen yet. Like we've seen him in the animated shows. We saw a version of the character in Gotham. I was like, awesome. Garfield Lynn's come to the big screen, great, or the HBO Max screen, great. Then when they said he was maybe going to be Falcone, he just doesn't. It's not that fact that he can't play a heavy, because especially in No Sudden Move, he's very much a bad guy. But I'm like, I don't get the organized crime vibe from you. I get more the blue collar criminal. So if he ends up playing Falcone, as you said, John, he's having a career resurgence right now. I imagine he'll do a great job. I personally want to see him as Firefly, and just because if he does play Falcone, that doesn't mean that Firefly isn't going to be in Batgirl. I mean, more than likely, it's not unusual for a bat-centric story to have more than one antagonist. Yeah. I certainly hope Firefly pops up, because for Barbara Gordon's first, solo adventure, I would like to see some sort of costumed villain. I think that would just be appropriate. So yeah. that's my thoughts.
Well, let me clarify. Justin Kroll is the one who broke it on Deadline. Hollywood Reporter just confirmed it after Deadline had already broken it. So I want to give full credit here for people who break these stories. The scoops is really important. Michael, what do you think about this? And answer the two questions I asked here.
Yeah, I mean, from what it sounds like, I imagine that the Batgirl script or the story has both Carmine Falcone and Firefly in it, and that is why there's maybe a little bit of confusion. And I think Shannon is right in that Firefly is a great costumed villain, but traditionally isn't necessarily a mastermind. So, he's a really cool costumed villain with a very explosive ability, with explosive power, but he's not someone who's gonna, there's not a lot of cat and mouse going on in catching this guy. And a bigger sort of mastermind, criminal, underworld Carmine Falcone type is maybe a more interesting sort of big bad, but you always want to have both. So yeah. I think Shannon may be right that we're maybe going to see both of these characters in the movie, and there's just a question of which one Brendan Fraser's playing. I could go either way. I mean, I think he could probably bring something to either role, just depending on what the role calls for. And I think that to your other question, I'm just happy to see Brendan Fraser kind of back in the mix. I mean, he's one of those people that, when he was on the rise as a movie star, he always just seemed like the nice guy movie star. Like, he always just seemed like the guy that you'd want to hang out with. And at least in the way that I understood everything that happened, is that kind of is who he was, and that the Hollywood system kind of ate him up, and he went through some bad times. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't have that on any authority. I don't know if that's exactly how it went, but that's just my understanding of it, is he was like a little too nice for the way the industry can sometimes go, and he went down a bad road. Some bad things happened. He wasn't doing his best. And to just see him sort of come back at this point in his life and kind of regain some footing, it's like you're just rooting for the guy.
Yeah. I mean, it was the way the story goes is Brendan Fraser felt like he was blacklisted for more than a decade when he had accused former Hollywood Foreign Press Association president Philip Burke of sexual assault. And apparently that was what ended up leading to the blacklisting in his mind, that he was blacklisted because he made these accusations. And of course, we've seen now with the whole Golden Globes debacle that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, they got their own issues to deal with. And clearly there were some problems for quite some time in all these organizations with how they dealt with this kind of stuff. And if there was a sexual assault here by this gentleman, then I think Brendan Fraser absolutely deserves this renaissance, and people need to get behind this renaissance and support everything that he's doing for sure. And if you look at Firefly, this is not a nondescript character, some character you've maybe never or has never been around much, or hasn't been part of the DC extended media in the past, because it's been in the DC. It was in the Batman cartoon series. Firefly was. It was in Arrow, portrayed by Andrew Dunbar. It was in the Arkham video game, the Batman Arkham video game as well, and even in Gotham, the Fox series that was around for sure. So this is a character that pops up every once in a while. There's been part of these more well-known pieces of media. So it's an interesting choice. It's not a first name that leaps to mind when you're thinking about a character. So if he is playing Firefly, certainly they've moved away from like the 80s version of Firefly, which is more about setting everything on fire. And this is more of a darker approach. So this could work. This could be a really fun thing for him to explore. And why not play a villain? I mean, those blue eyes, I think Brendan's got that gear in him. If you've seen him in any of these shows or movies, he's got that gear to go a little dark, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If any of our audience watched The Affair, the Showtime series.
Oh, right. Yes.
He popped up in season 3. I want to say that was one of his first sort of notable roles on his way back. And he played a kind of sadistic prison guard. Yeah. And, growing up with, him playing George of the Jungle and The Mummy, like you didn't expect that. You didn't expect that color from him, but he did a really, really good job. I mean, I think the show, The Affair, kind of went off the rails season 3, but he did a fantastic job. No offense. And again, then seeing him in No Sudden Move, which I believe Soderbergh directed, but watching him kind of mixing it up with Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro and Kieran Culkin, right. I mean, he was great. He was great. And I think whatever lane they stick him in, whether it is a Falcone or Firefly, that he'll do a great job.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the size to play Falcone. He's a big dude now, Brendan. He's got the size to play him, and might be age appropriate in terms of where Falcone is in his career at that time and where Batgirl is at her time. So yeah.
Well, and also like I don't know if we talked about it on a past episode, but I thought they did confirm that J.K. Simmons was coming back as Commissioner Gordon, and that there was a rumor that a Batman was going to pop up, and it's like, okay, well, if it's J.K. Simmons, one would think it would be Affleck, but that announcement hasn't been made yet.
Don't even joke, man. Please. More Batfleck, the better. Come on, Mike.
I saw my brother showed me a tweet the other day that was like, every generation gets the Batman that they deserve, plus 2 or 3 more Batmen. That's where we're at right now. We've got a lot of bats. True. Got a lot of bats running around.
I don't want to bury any more Batmen. All right. Anyway, Batgirl's coming out in 2022 sometime. They haven't announced when, but shout out to Leslie Grace, who is leading it as a Latina leading this thing. So excited for it. So, all right, let's. Go ahead, Mike. One more thing.
Well, just now to that point, like, is Batgirl after the Flash or before the Flash?
Ooh, good question.
The Flash comes out in November.
Yeah.
The Flash comes out in November, and to my knowledge, they have not started shooting Batgirl yet.
No, from what I don't understand, no, they have not. Yeah.
So I do think, again, I'm not saying that this is how DC or Warner Brothers does things, nor how they necessarily need to do things. But if the Flash is going to have both Batfleck and Michael Keaton in it, and if the rumors are true that perhaps this is Batfleck's swan song and he dies in the Flash, and then Michael Keaton's Batman stays around, it would stand to reason that if there were to be a Bat in Batgirl, it would be that one. But this is Warner Brothers and DC, so fuck my facts. Who knows what's going to happen?
That should be a Geek Buddy shirt. Fuck my facts should be a Geek Buddy shirt. Absolutely. Somebody design that shit right now. I love that. All right, there we go. And, Mike, this has been your Michael Vogel Takes a Shot at DC comic moment here, brought to you by the Geek Buddies.
By the way, but taking a shot about things that I'm genuinely excited about. I'm super excited about Batgirl. I'm really intrigued by the Flash. Like, we have now shifted, I will say, just now that you brought it up, I will say that now that we have seemingly left the Snyderverse behind.
How dare you?
I have left I do not enjoy the DC cinematic universe, and I have shifted into maybe with the DC cinematic universe. That's where I live now.
Fair. I like it.
Some of our fans are throwing out lightning finger tweets right now at MK Toon. How dare you?
How dare you say this? Mike Kalinowski's birthday, I think his cake just fell. It's flat. It just went flat. Shannon, I think you're taking us into a trailer park again. What do we got?
With trailers. So normally when we do this, it's kind of piecemeal. Like something may have come out right after we recorded, but we're really excited about it. Something may have come out the day before. Today we have 3 trailers that all came out as of this recording about 7 hours ago.
Yeah.
So the first one, which is unheard of, we get our first great look at Lightyear. So this is going to be coming out next summer. Chris Evans voicing Buzz Lightyear. This is essentially the story that the toy is then based off of. I mean, this is such a unique way to present a character's journey that we've known for almost 25 years now. The Toy Story 1 came out, and they've got David Bowie's. What was it? 26?
Is it come out in 95? I thought it came out in 95.
95 or 96?
96. My bad.
No, actually, John's right. I think it came out like holiday 95. I think it came around like Thanksgiving 95.
So quarter of a century, this character has been around. And
yes, 95. 95. There we go. All right, go ahead.
And we're getting a really unique story. I mean, it's basically, the story of Buzz Lightyear and his adventures to infinity and beyond. I mean, as a trailer, just so unique. They've got the David Bowie song playing in the back. But gentlemen, I'll throw it to you. What did you all think of our first look at Lightyear?
Well, as the resident Buzz Lightyear of the Geek Buddies, I will say I 100% love this trailer. I did a trailer reaction for it earlier today. Woke up, got out of bed, immediately jumped on the computer to do it because I was so excited to see this. I'd forgotten about it because it had been a while since they had announced that Chris Evans was going to do the voice, so I'd kind of forgotten about it. But this trailer was beautiful. The best of Pixar was highlighted here in this trailer. I mean, they're almost photorealistic version of that rocket taking off, the rocket ship taking off, all the extraterrestrial stuff they encountered, the cat, everything about it was really cool. I loved it. Then throwing in the David Bowie song was just perfect. I think Space Oddity is what it's called. It was brilliant. Spaceman, and all of it was just brilliant to kind of explore. And then they don't even give you Chris Evans' voice until the last possible second of the trailer, which I think is genius. And I got emotional. No bullshit. I got emotional because I'm like, what happens to him that they turn him into a toy? That's immediately where my mind went. Like, where does he go? Does he go all the way out? Does he save the world somehow? And is this how he becomes a toy? Does he sacrifice his life? And is this why he becomes a toy? So for me, I loved it. And then I got really emotional about it. And I think the animation looks stellar. Absolutely stellar. Mike?
Yes to all of that. And I'm super, like, the trailer blew me away. It did leave me wondering, though, how advanced is the space program in Andy's world? I just like, because you're right, like the whole pitch is this is the guy that inspired the toy, and Andy, you know, was a kid, now is in college somewhere, and the toys have gone through his life and are now in Bonnie's life. And I was like, so wait, before Andy got Buzz, this is the space program, and are there aliens? Like, is Zurg gonna show up, or is this not? Is it more realistic?
Is Zurg a real thing? Yeah.
Well, that's point. and I don't know. You know, I don't think he is. I think this is gonna be more grounded. But then if it's super grounded, like the trailer looked like there was some stuff that didn't look so grounded. I'm not worried about any of this because it's Pixar. If it was some other studios, I might be like, I am sure that Pixar, the story minds at Pixar are way smarter than me, and I know that they're going to figure all this out. So it didn't leave me like confused, like, ooh, I don't know about this. The trailer absolutely floored me. Every time Pixar has a trailer come out now, you are just floored all over again at how good Pixar movies look, and just the style and the substance and the emotion. You're right. In a very, very small, with a very small amount of information, and some longing shots of him in his Space Command t-shirt looking out at the vistas, you're like, this looks beautiful, and I think you're gonna fuck with my heartstrings. You are, Pixar, I can tell right now you're coming for me, and I know it's gonna kill me. I also just love, as a franchise, how far Toy Story has come, and how they can be like, how do we make a Toy Story sequel without making a Toy Story sequel? And they came up with something that nobody would have thought of. So I'm just like, I can't wait to get more story information out of it, because this teaser did what a teaser is supposed to do, which is it gave me a ton more questions. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my take on this is that in the world of Toy Story, in the world that Andy, where he owns the Buzz Lightyear action figure, that action figure is based off of a property. It's based off of a movie. It's based off of it's a story.
TV show.
So the fact that the space program is not lining up with where Andy would be, they're two different things.
If that's what they're doing, that's totally fine. But like, if we're watching a movie of a movie in Andy's world, that seems weird to me. I thought we were seeing like there was an actual person who did something, and then that inspired the toy. Now, if this is just like, no, this is the adventures of this guy that then became a toy in Andy's world, that could work, and that gives them a ton more freedom for sure. Right. I was reading it more like, I think John was reading it like there was an actual dude, and he did something amazing, and it inspired the toy. You could 1,000% be right. That might be a way more easily gettable answer. And I guess we'll find out.
Well, the synopsis says the sci-fi, this is the official synopsis, the sci-fi action adventure presents the definitive origin story of Buzz Lightyear. Not Tom Lightyear, Steve Lightyear, or Don Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear, the hero who inspired the toy, introducing the legendary space ranger who would win generations of fans. So maybe the Space Ranger TV show that the toy's based on was based on the adventures of the real people. So we could be looking at wheels within wheels within wheels here, man. So it's a good question,
origin, yeah, or this is the origin story. Like, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be. It's Pixar, so however they do it, I'm sure it's going to be... It's like when we all saw Lego Movie and we're like... Not that Lego was Pixar, but like when Warner Brothers released the Lego Movie and we're like, oh, here's going to be a cute movie with Legos, and then they punched us in the gut with the father-son shit at the end. Like, they could do something similar here where we're like, oh, here's a fun adventure with space. Buzz Lightyear fighting aliens. And then at the end, some real shit's going to go down and we're going to be like, you tricked me again. You bing-bonged me. You bing-bonged me hard.
You son of a bitch.
Well, yeah, I guess we will find out when the next trailer comes out or when the film comes out in June of 2022. Yeah. So our next trailer...
was a one-way ticket. It'll be that son of a bitch. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Our next trailer is the second part of a Netflix limited series that when it came out this past July, there was a very vocal section of fandom who talked about how much they didn't like it. I don't think the three of us were part of that, though. But yes, in November, we're going to get the back half of the limited series of Masters of the Universe Revelation, excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, this is everyone returning, Skeletor, He-Man. If you watch the show, you realize they left on kind of a big cliffhanger. Yeah, I mean, it seems to perfectly be following up the story that they set up in the first 5 episodes. I really enjoyed the first 5. I hear the critique of the people that didn't like it. I think it maybe is a little off base. But again, I thought it was great, and if you don't want to watch the back half, you certainly don't have to. But gentlemen, what did you all think of our first trailer for part 2 of Masters of the Universe Revelation?
Well, I think to elaborate on what you just said, I think if you didn't like the first 5 for whatever reasons, that's fine. Yeah. However, if you didn't like the first 5 because you thought Teela looked too much like a man and they were trying to make her He-Man and they made Adam scrawny and all the reasons that a vocal subset of fans didn't like it, you were silly when you thought it the first time, and now looking at what the back 5 episodes are, you're sillier. You're silly. Because... Yeah. And I think we talked about this when we kind of discussed it on the show, all of the backlash against it and everything that happened. Like, it was pretty clear a lot of the things that they were setting up. And if you watch the trailer, what we thought, I think what we said, it looked like they were setting up with Teela seems to be confirmed in this trailer. And if you're a fan of the original series and you know kind of what the backstory of Teela was, it seems pretty clear that that's the direction they're going in. It seems pretty clear that we're going to get a lot more of He-Man in this back 5 than we got in the first 5, and that when you take them as a whole, this really is still a He-Man story, and was always meant to be a He-Man story since he will have been in the majority of the episodes. And it just looks great. It looks like we're going to get that epic final battle for Eternia. It looks like some characters that we thought were gone might be showing up again. It looks like they're doing really cool stuff with Evelyn, who I thought was a standout in the first 5 and looks like she's really going to step up to the plate in this second 5. It looks huge. And it looks like it kind of made me laugh because I was very excited watching the trailer because it looked like it was going to still give me all the things that I was loving about the first 5. Like, I think the vibe and the energy was there. But also I was just like, literally, I had my little checkbox of like, so let's see, 40-year-old fans online were mad about this. Nope, think they covered that. They were mad. Nope, he's still there. Nope. Yeah, no, I think, guys, I gotta say, I think you're batting 0 here. I think they really did do what they said they were doing. And Kevin Smith, in fact, did not lie to everybody when he said it was about He-Man.
I loved it. And from a personal connection standpoint, Griffin Newman is on the Finstock Exchange this year. He is fighting in the singles tournament, and he's the voice of was it Orko? And so
Orko.
To hear him right at the end, I was like, oh, no one ever really dies in animation or in comic books. You know how it works. But I liked this. This was great. And listen, and I'm gonna tell you this way, for all you pessimistic fans, they did not go back and readjust and reshoot and re-record. Animation takes such a long time to do. There's no way they heard you all bitching and changed the story. So fuck your YouTube video if you're going to do something about that, because that's not what happened. Okay. So
do you think I honestly was thinking that this morning. I was like, do people really think that there was time to go back and rework that?
1,000,000% people. There are people who believe that. Sorry.
Yeah, I think there's probably again a section of the fandom that doesn't understand production schedules.
Yeah.
And how long it would take to actually do that, and the fact that this is coming out 4 months after the first part.
Yeah, and you know, there was an anger I felt because I saw one of the negative videos first before I watched the 5 episodes, and I was like, "Oh wow, if this is really what it is, yeah, I can see why people are upset." And then I watched the 5 episodes, and I was mad at the negative video, not at Master Chief, because I was like, "You left out some integral plot points on purpose to post a negative video. Like, how do you sleep at night knowing you officially went after this shit and lied to yourself or lied to the fans for clicks? Who the fuck are you? What kind of vapid, soulless son of a bitch are you to create a lie based on hard work that people have created? Did you edit it in like, I don't know, half an hour? Fuck off." Like, I was so mad at that video for that because I'm like, you're just getting clicks to appeal to the lowest common denominator. So yeah, the people you're talking about, Shannon, or Mike, whoever said it was silly, now you look silly, or I think it was Mike. You do look silly for going out because here comes He-Man, and this is going to be an awesome battle. I love the fact that it's his energy that can call upon that thing that can turn him into He-Man, which I think is brilliant. Skeletor, great beginning. And it's even kind of a religious thing. It's like, oh, we always want things to make sense in our world. We want it to connect. You know what? All that matters is power. Also, an interesting, pessimistic, negative approach to the world versus a heroic approach to a world. And we get not only more with Evelyn, but we also get more with sorry, I forgot her name.
Man at Arms.
No, Man at Arms, but his daughter. We get more with
Teela.
We get more with Teela because she has that conversation with her dad, and her dad says, "You've been my daughter. Now go and be more." So it's a very positive, uplifting show, and I think it's going to kick ass in the back half, and people are going to have to reassess it completely. And Kevin Smith is going to be sitting on a pile of money laughing his balls off. So that's
for anybody who does get confused about animation production schedules, whether you liked He-Man, didn't like He-Man, if you want to know about animation production schedules, here's all you need to know: is that every time that I am shown an animation production schedule for a show that I'm working on, I feel like the old lady at the end of Titanic. That's like when I count the weeks of how long it's gonna take for this to get done. Like when I look at the schedule, they're like, "Okay, well, you're gonna do some strawberry shortcake shorts." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds fun. That'll be cool." And then they show me the production calendar. And I'm like, "It's been 87 years." Like that's how you should think of animation production schedules.
Yeah. Look, people, you need to know the truth. So anyway, all right.
Well, that debuts on Netflix November 23rd, and just 6 days before we get season 2 of a series we never thought there was going to be a season 2 of, about some characters that are very animated themselves. We're getting the Tiger King season 2. We've got more Joe Exotic, more Carol Baskin, more of the Lows. So when this, and I think this is going to be an interesting chat, and I know we're running long already. But when Tiger King came out, that was right as the world kind of shut down, and like everybody watched this crazy show on Netflix about a guy with an illegal zoo and his tigers, and sort of the palace intrigue that went along with that. So the fact that we're getting to season 2, that it got this huge response in a time where everyone is kind of stuck at home watching TV. There are live or narrative projects or like adaptations, dramatic adaptations that are now in the works. We see that now it's sort of the continuing story. They're going more on to Carol Baskin about her one of her husbands that disappeared. Are people going to come back to this, or has the world kind of moved on? I feel like one of the series based on Joe Exotic, I feel like it has gone away, or maybe it was a movie. It has gone away, so there's only one still sort of in development. What do you guys think? Are people going to tune in for the continuing incarcerated adventures of Joe Exotic?
I mean, the trailer looks cool, but the person who made you watch it was Joe Exotic, and the fact that Joe Exotic is going to be like, "Hey, so I'm proud," all you're going to see is the top of his head in prison interviews. That is not exciting. Everybody else who was in the show was nowhere near as exciting as Joe Exotic, and that includes Carol Baskin and possibly killing her husband. They're all tools in comparison to Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic had certain kind of charm or charisma or nuttiness. That's how he was able to get so many people to follow him and work for his zoo and get paid crap wages and eat meat that was rotten 2 weeks ago, because he has an ability to make people follow him. So that's what came through in the show. And so when you remove that element or keep it to a half a forehead, you're going to lose a lot of the audience. So I think in the end, it's not going to be as well received. And yeah, you're probably right. Also, the combination of us all not being in COVID lockdown at the same time will affect the ratings of it. But yeah, if he's not there front and center, it just doesn't make sense to do the show. And I think the movies are waiting till the thing dies down. And then when it comes back up again, they're going to launch those movies. Mike?
Yeah. I thought that we all liked Tiger King because we were in a time and a place and we were all a little cray-cray. Like it was some rough times, and then we all just latched onto this thing. And I do agree with you. I think as far as like the scripted versions of it, like we all had fun like casting who would play these characters, but I don't know that any actor is going to make it as crazy as the actual shit that we watched on Netflix. And so when I heard they were doing a season 2, I was like, oh, Netflix trying to keep us in. Like, nah, who needs it? We don't need more of this. Like, we saw the crazy. We're out of the pandemic. I don't need this. Then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, no, I'm going to watch this. I'm back in. I'm in on this. I don't necessarily need to see some fictional version of what I already know is a batshit crazy story in real life, but seeing the continuation of these batshit crazy people continue to be batshit crazy, particularly because I didn't fully realize that this season 2 is picking up after season 1 has become as big as it did. Right. Like that the Lowe's are going around with like their Tiger King bling, and that everyone is making money off of Tiger King, and Joe Exotic is pissed about it because he's stuck in jail, and he's railing against the fact that everyone's living off this Netflix special that wouldn't have happened and like if he hadn't been crazy. I'm like, oh, this is a bunch of crazy white trash people white trashing all over each other. Like I'm here to watch it. Like I will watch it. Like I'm in. I want to see. It's like the worst, most fucked up version of Beverly Hillbillies ever is what that trailer was. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay. All right.
There it is. Well, Tiger King season 2. White trashing all over the place. That's the unofficial title.
In parentheses.
It is coming out November 17th on Netflix.
There you go. All right. Well, at this point, we usually jump into a little bit of a break. And for those of you who are listening to podcasts, we do our promos or our commercials. I just want to say a couple of things real quick here officially on the channel. I've got a giveaway going on right now. There's a copy of Stillwater available. Next Tuesday, I will be selecting a winner. If you want to win this copy, Blu-ray copy of Stillwater, you can go to the Stillwater review here on the channel, leave a comment, copy the comment, then DM it to me with your actual home address, and the studio will send you a copy of that as well. And there's another one going on for Snake Eyes. I'm giving away 5 copies of Snake Eyes. I'm going to pick 5 winners tomorrow, send them on to the studio. So what you want to do is find my Snake Eyes review, leave a comment, same thing, DM it to me with a picture of the comment and your address, and we will send it to you from the studio. And one last thing, I want to give a shout out to contendersclothing.com. They sent me this awesome Rocky 4 shirt. They've got these goat, that's Ali, boxer briefs I'm going to wear. They've got some Rocky ones that I think Shannon will really love wearing here. These Rocky 4 boxer briefs, and some awesome Cobra Kai stuff as well. So just giving a little bit of shout out to them. Shannon, Christmas is coming. You've asked for our shirt sizes. I'm just recommending that place.
I'm glad Shannon's getting so much of this swag.
Wait, I didn't say he should get the swag. I said he should buy the swag for us, Mike. I literally just said that.
Oh, Shannon's going to look good in these boxers. Oh, Shannon's going to get some Cobra Kai stuff. Oh, screw Michael.
I didn't say screw Michael. Well, some of us will be getting animation projects. Some of the Geek Buddies will be doing animation projects. Anyway, all right, let's take a break and jump into our main topic right after the break here, and that is the non-spoiler review of Eternals.
Do 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 do.
What's that? What is that one? Is that...
It's from the teaser trailer.
Oh,
It's the end of the world.
All I know is Man. All right, so Eternals is coming out very, very soon. The three of us have seen it. I took Michael to the premiere. The next night, I drove back up from San Diego and took Shannon to go see a screening of it as well in IMAX, which I thought was
Daddy,
really fun.
Geek Buddy.
No, that's, you know what? That's good.
Oh, I didn't get to go to a premiere.
It
No,
wasn't
but
that
you
big.
get the Rocky boxers, so I guess we're all winners here.
Oh, wait, I never said I'd send it to him. I said he should get some. I'm keeping those. I might take it. You know what? Everyone gets to wear their bikini briefs or their underwear. I'm going to put pictures of me up on my underwear wearing that stuff. So there you go. But yeah, we're going to jump into Eternals here and talk about it. This film here from Chloe Zhao, dealing with these Eternals they've been around on Earth for 7,000 years and are reawakened to stop the deviants from attacking Earth and possibly also bring about a certain thing that we don't want to spoil. So let's get into first the overall thoughts here. Let's start with you, Michael, as we usually do on these reviews. What did you feel about the overall, or what's your overall feeling rather about Eternals now with a little bit of time since you saw it last week?
Well, it's going to be interesting because based on some of the reviews that I've seen coming out, I think I may be more in the minority on this one. We'll see how it goes, but I can say, so Johnny did take me to the premiere. We had a lovely time. We walked the carpet, we sat down, and about 20 or 30 minutes in, I've seen enough movies with Johnny that I can sort of feel his energy on, and he could do the same for me. And I kind of had a moment where I was like, I'm liking this a lot more than I think John is. Like,
we have not discussed this, by the way. We have not discussed this.
I am really liking this more. Like, I'm leaning forward in my seat and doing it, and John's just kind of still watching. So I was very invested right away. I very much enjoyed the movie. I recognize it is very different for a Marvel movie. This is very Jack Kirby, kind of diving into the Jack Kirby of it all is already like you're getting into the weirder part of the Marvel universe. And this is sort of Jack Kirby through a Chloe Zhao filter, which kind of makes it even weirder. So this is not the typical, here's the origin story, here's who the hero is, here's how they step in their powers, here's the first bad guy they fight, which is sort of the template for a lot of the Marvel origin stories. This is a very, very different thing that does definitely have its flaws. Like, I don't think it's a perfect movie. I have some issues, and when we do a spoiler review, I'll be happy to dive into some of those issues. But my overall experience was, I thought that they did a really great job of establishing who these characters were really quickly. I was very immediately invested in them, and I really enjoyed that Marvel is getting kind of weird. Like, it was getting weird in some shit, and I was there for it. I was really excited by it. I was really excited about the direction that this may spin the Marvel universe into. So I was very into it. I liked it a lot. But then in speaking with Johnny a little bit and speaking with Shannon a little bit and seeing some of the reviews that have been coming out, I know that that is not how everybody feels about it. So let me ask you two, what did you think of the Eternals?
Shannon?
So I'm probably going to be someplace in between Vogel and John on this. Part of being friends with John is you do get to know his body language. And granted, like John, he had driven up to LA to do the premiere. He drove back to San Diego.
I like that this has become a spoiler review of how John watches a movie. Welcome to the spoiler review of how the Outlaw watches a movie.
I'd like to say, I think I've gotten so much better than I used to be. So, but go ahead.
Oh,
this is not a criticism.
You're way better than you used to be. This is
not
fine.
a criticism. So John drove to and from San Diego twice in about 36 hours.
Yeah.
And so as John and I are watching the movie, knowing what John thought about it going into it, as I'm watching it, and I'm interested, but right off the bat, it's like, yeah, this is very different. This is a very different type of movie, and it's the type of thing you remove the Marvel references, and you don't even know that it's a Marvel movie. I mean, it's that kind of unique. Judging from John's body language, I was like, "Ooh, John's getting bored." But also, I'm leaving the door open. Like John had 2 very busy days where he did a lot of driving, so I was kind of leaving the door open for that. But about midway through Act 2, I did start to look at my watch, and it's like, "Ooh, we've got," because this is a 2-hour and 40-minute movie.
2-hour and 40-minute movie. Yep.
The first time I checked my watch, we were about 45 minutes in. And I was like, oh my God, there's another feature-length movie amount of time before we get all the way through this. The performances across the board are really, really good. Like there are some fantastic performances. There's one performer in particular who I don't think stuck the landing on everything. And when we do our spoiler review, we'll chat about that. Part of Marvel being a victim of its own success is as you're watching a movie, you're watching it for the story, but at the same time, your brain starts to go like, how is this going to affect everything else? Because they're telling this gigantic interconnected story. And that's where like my brain started to wander, because it was like, how are they going to connect this to everything else? Like this is, they're opening this very large unexplored corner of the Marvel universe. By the end, like I certainly enjoyed it, but I was left with more questions than answers. But I do look forward to seeing it again. I mean, sometimes, you do need to see a movie twice to really kind of digest everything that's presented to you. I've been reading a lot about people who watched Dune a second time, who were not that big on it the first time, but they really liked it the second time. And also folks saying watching it at home was actually better because some of the stimuli that you're given, it's just it can be overpowering. That being said, Eternals is a beautifully shot movie. I mean, it is a gorgeous looking movie. I'll be curious before we do our spoiler review. I imagine we'll all see it again, so we can, go at it with fresh eyes. John, maybe not. He saw it twice in 24 hours.
Yeah, I've got the memory I think I've seen what I need to see. No, look, I'll say this. I went in so excited for this movie because you've got Chloe Zhao as the director, as Oscar-winning director, Asian voice here behind the camera. You've got one of the most diverse casts the MCU is ever going to do. And when Tessa Thompson was interviewed about it a couple of years ago and said, Kevin Feige assured me we are going to be way more diverse in Phase 4, I was excited for this. I mean, you've got a great list of actors. Someone tried to compare it to the first X-Men. I was like, get the fuck out of here. These across the board are way more talented actors as a whole than the actors you had at X-Men. They're good actors, but it's once you get past Hugh Jackman and maybe Patrick Stewart, then it starts to kind of be the
Ian McKellen.
Then it starts to become the law of diminishing returns. Because I tell you this, but you can't do that with Eternals. Everybody is great in the movie in terms of acting. Now, are the roles fleshed out? No, and that's where the problem is for me. There are 2 or 3 roles that are really fleshed out. You get to know them, you get to understand what's going on, a relationship between 2 of the characters that's really explored. But everyone else gets introduced, and then poof, they're gone for large stretches of the movie. And the movie expects you to go, remember when they were like cool with each other 6 hours ago? Hey, we're back now. And now let's just jump into this. And I think that's where the movie really suffers, is they don't flesh out enough of these characters. Introducing 11 characters if you include Dane Whitman, is a lot to ask of a movie. And it was too much, I think, for this movie. And it banked too much on the casting and the possible chemistry of the characters in order to overcome that or paper over the cracks of that situation. I agree with Michael. This thing is way out there. But you know what? So is Loki. So is Doctor Strange. And they still managed to have a cohesive story that's connectable and works. The problem I feel is this film is a bit cold, a bit distant, and I wanted to feel emotion for these people, and I couldn't. I just was more observing it, which is why I fell asleep for 5 minutes at the premiere. I kind of like settled back in when I watched it again with Shannon in the second half of the movie. I did enjoy the first half a lot more a second time, for sure, because I didn't have to worry about who's being introduced when. But the second half still doesn't work for me because I think they have almost zero chemistry as a team. Individually, like 1-on-2, 1-on-1, great chemistry. Overall as a team, no chemistry at all. And if they've been doing this multiple times, or if they've been doing this a few times, then you're supposed to and I mean that in the film, if they're coming together to fight a few times, by the time they get to the final, you expect them to have some good chemistry, and they don't. Do they have standout individual moments within the battles? Absolutely, but overall, it doesn't really work for me. And I think some of the characters and I think some of the things that they decided to do that were supposedly these big, powerful moments, there's no fleshing out of the moment, and then we just move the F on. And I'm like, wait, what? You've got to explain how this happened, explore this situation. Then when you have that moment, it feels even more powerful. It's not just, let's throw this in and get the fuck out of here. Like, it just drove me nuts on some of these decisions that they made overall. So, but real quick, but Shannon's right. Visually incredibly gorgeous. Chloe Zhao knows exactly what to do with the camera, knows exactly how to direct a lush, beautiful, gorgeous film. The problem is the story. So,
I mean, I agree. I actually agree with some of what John says. I disagree with some of what John says. Maybe he fell asleep for some of the parts that I was enjoying. So I'm not quite sure when he was asleep.
If it was exciting, I stayed awake. Anyway, go ahead.
But no, I actually, and I think everyone's gonna have different opinions on this. Like I whether it was the casting, whether it was something that I picked up on or was feeling that he wasn't feeling, like I very much liked these characters right off the bat. And I think that from a writing standpoint, I think there's always a desire to want to be able to spend more time and get to know everybody. And look, if you're going to do a movie where even if it's 2 hours and 40 minutes, you've got 11 characters, you don't have time to spend on every character. That's just that's the game that you chose. And maybe that was a bad game to choose. Maybe that's going to be Marvel's decision at the end of the day after this. But I thought, given the amount of time they had, I think they did a great job of very succinctly and very efficiently letting you know who each character was and what they were about, so that when we do catch back up with them later on and see where they are, at a later date in time, I picked right back up on their stories. Like, I very much enjoyed you were this and then you became this, and you were this and you went here. Like, I thought that all tracked for me. I really enjoyed it. I do think John's right that there is a bit of a coldness to the movie that I attributed to, these are Eternals. They've been around for thousands of years. Like, you're kind of playing this godlike thing. You're not Tony Stark fucking around, or even Cap, who's been frozen in ice for 70 years. Like, you're this very alien being, and I think
Michael, but they're making jokes like human beings, and they're being sarcastic like human beings. So you can't say, "Oh, you're godlike," and then you don't, but you're acting like a human being, and therefore, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
You can, because they are in fact thousands of years old. Like, when you're like just because you're thousands of years old doesn't mean you don't crack jokes. I'm not saying that it was the right choice. I'm not saying it fully worked, but I'm saying clearly what they were going for is, we are these alien beings who are thousands of years old. Like, they were playing to that, which gave them all this sort of like little bit of a distance. Was it the right choice or the wrong choice? Everybody can make that choice on their own when they see it, but it was clearly a choice. I also think that John is right in that I do think that a couple of my story issues that we'll get into at a later date do sort of stem around, you had some big swings that you wanted to take, you had some big character moments, and a thing happens, and I don't know that it's fully backed up. Yeah. But again, this is me getting into the nitty-gritty of what I didn't like. My overall experience of this movie was kind of a little bit giddy, and I think that some people had that experience, some people didn't, but I think that for me, seeing something that was so ballsy out there, that was so different than everything else, and kind of to Shannon's point, me getting excited about, holy shit, you just went for it in this movie. Mm-hmm. And how does this affect the rest of the Marvel universe going forward? Like, there's some pretty big things by the end of this movie that you're like, yeah, you can't ignore that on the next Disney Plus series. That's going to have to be a thing. And so I'm just really curious to see how they carry that forward. And if any other studio is doing it, I'd be like, there's no way. But given how far Marvel's brought us so far, I'm like, all right, well, let's see. And then without getting into any details on it, both of the end credit sequences are equally as balls out crazy, where you're just like, oh shit. Like, you think about where the Marvel Universe Phase 4 has gone so far, and we know that the multiverse is wide open thanks to Loki and What If. And if you watch the end credits to Shang-Chi, we know that, there's like a lot going on with the 10 rings that we weren't quite expecting. And what does all that mean? And then you get to the end of Eternals and you're like, holy shit, man, you are not slowing down here. Like there is a lot going on. Never mind the Sinister Six coming back in No Way Home. Like there is a lot going on. And the Eternals end credit sequence didn't close any loops. It just opened some big fucking loops in other directions.
And I'll add two things and a question. A good thing that you've probably seen in the trailers are the speedster effects for Makari.
Mm-hmm.
So a character that I knew very little about going into the movie, they have set the speedster effect bar very high for the Flash next November because she looks awesome. I mean, the way they shot that, it was just so satisfying for me as an audience member. With Chloe Zhao, because I thought Nomadland was fantastic.
Yeah.
Not every director and editor is suited for comedy. And some of the humor does not land because I don't think she knows how to shoot comedy well, because there is a difference. But that, again, that's my personal opinion. And I just lost my question. Doggone it. It was really good too.
Well, while you think about the question, let me jump in and be the counter to Mike in a positive way. As Mike kind of agreed, some of my points were negative. I will agree with some of Michael's points as well that were positive about the movie. Just because I had some issues with the film doesn't mean I don't think it should exist or you shouldn't go see it. You should absolutely go see it. If you're a Marvel fan, you should absolutely go see it if you want to find out what's going on next in Phase 4. And they clearly announced they're going way the F on out there. If you thought what happened at the end of Loki was going out there, this is going way on out there for sure, through numerous centuries to go all the way back. Very interesting. But I think the film deserves a massive amount of credit, again, for this cast, for Salma Hayek, for Kumail Nanjiani, for Brian Tyree Henry, for Gemma Chan, for Angelina Jolie, for Liam McHugh, for Don Lee. So many people, even Harish Patel, who steals the damn movie, steals every scene he's in. It's so great to see so much representation on the screen. And, of course, Lauren Ridloff, as well as a deaf actress on the heels of Coda. It was great to see her kind of, step forward as another deaf actress getting an opportunity in a film to show what she can do. And she's fantastic. I mean, she has so many great emotional moments. And speaking of emotional moments, Angelina Jolie is incredible in this movie. She brings her Oscar-winning talent to these emotional moments, the struggles that she's going through in the film. It will blow you away that level of acting is occurring in a Marvel movie. That is reserved for like independent, small, angsty, awesome films that are Oscar nominated. What she's delivering in certain moments is some of the best stuff I've seen from her in quite some time. So I have positive things to say about the movie for sure, even though it maybe didn't 100% work for me. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Do you know, on the casting front, what I thought the best part was about that cast was that the whole diversity of the cast didn't feel... It felt like that's how things should always be.
Right, didn't feel forced.
It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel weird. It didn't feel like they were trying to tick a box. Like, you looked at this group of people that were so different in so many ways, and you just went... Yeah, that's what every super team should look like. Like, why are we even fighting and making a big deal about this for? Like, this is what I want. Like, this is what I want to see. Like, it was great. Yeah. Like, I really, really appreciated that about the movie a lot, is that it just made it feel so, Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way now, Michael. I've watched so many commercials, TV shows, movies now over the last 2 years. I'm like, and I see so many people of color. I'm like, we've always been there, trying to get these jobs. It's so great to finally see the cast directors go, oh yeah, maybe it's okay now to put people in. There's always been talented people of color who haven't got a shot, and to see them popping up in commercials or in interracial relationships, which was so taboo in the past, seeing so many people do this, I think it's fantastic. But I'm still a little pissed about it, but I think it's fantastic. And this movie is another example of how simple and organic and fluid it is, and how it's not a big deal, yet it is a big deal at the same time. So, yeah. Shannon, did you think of your question? Oh, sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead, Shannon.
Well, I was going to say the release order, because of COVID, like the release order got, shuffled a little bit. I do think it's fortunate that their first two, after Black Widow, their first two swings with new characters, or with new titles at least, are going to be followed by the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch of Spidey 3, Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Panther 2, and Captain Marvel 2. That
don't forget
this
Hawkeye.
is the time. Well, yeah, but I'm talking on the big screen though.
It's familiar. Okay, yeah.
No, I'm talking big screen because that's where the big money.
Oh.
All
right.
But knowing how it concludes, do you guys see a reality where this expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe collapses under its own weight? Okay, I think John is telling us his thoughts
I have
right
the same answer to this every time we bring up this question, but John, go first.
Just real quick, yes, because of what I saw in Eternals. So that's what I can say. Yes, because of what I saw in Eternals, and it's always the fear. But there are a lot of talented people who want a shot at Marvel movies, so I think that's going to keep it afloat for a very, very long time before it falls on itself. Mike?
Yeah, as I always say, yes, the Marvel universe will eventually collapse it's going to happen eventually. I don't actually think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think they've got some pretty solid plans.
Yeah.
And I think that even if Eternals does ultimately turn out to be seen as not the best thing that Marvel has done, they've also had some pretty not best things in the past as well, and they've worked with it, and they've got plans. They've got the movies lined up. They know where they're going with this stuff, so it's not like they're putting something out there and they're like, oh shit, how do we make sense of this? Like, between the multiverse and Shang-Chi and everything they're doing in Eternals, like, they clearly have a direction. At some point down the road, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, whatever, they're going to have to collapse / reboot / start over, because they're just gonna have to. Nothing can go on forever. That's just not how the world works. But I don't think that anything in Eternals made me go, oh, I think they've overstepped now. They've really stepped into it. Like, I think they still are on pretty solid footing as far as knowing where they want to go. And as we talked about before, they're at a place right now where they can take some big swings, because even if they lose some of their audience, or people are like, I don't know if I'm on board anymore, they've got an entire wing of mutants that they're just waiting to bring in, that everyone's going to be like, oh, I'm back in. There's Storm. There's Wolverine. There's Cyclops. Like, they're going to come back. So I think they know what they're doing.
If they knock X-Men and Fantastic Four out of the park, that's going to give them at least 10 years of life extra. 10 years of extra life for sure, if not more, for God's sake. So, all right, any final words? You think of your question yet, Shannon, or no?
No, well, no, that was the question.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go.
I just really like when the Geek Buddies have like a 3-way split. It's like a Geek Buddies Goldilocks rating. It's like, well, I liked it, I didn't like it, I'm in the middle. Like, it's a good way to go.
Wait, like Goldilocks in this scenario.
You're one of the 3 bears. We're all one of the 3 bears.
No, I guess in this scenario, you're the mother bear.
Oh boy.
Oh, but I guess that makes me the baby bear, because then John would be the papa bear.
Goddamn right. You got it. Just call me a daddy. All right. Anyway, let's let's get on out of here. We hope you enjoyed our non-spoiler review. And look, we couldn't get into the concepts, we couldn't get into some of the symbolism, we couldn't get it without spoiling anything. So we will definitely have a spoiler review where we talk about everything that was presented. So don't ding us for that, because that's stuff we couldn't quite jump into, because it will lead into spoiler territory, and it's better that we don't rather than taking that chance. And it's less editing for me, God damn it. All right, so thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of the Geek Buddies, whether you're listening to us on the podcast or watching us here on the Outlaw Nation. Shannon, what do we got to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram, @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram, Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, Papa Bear, it is @The Rocha Says.
Mikey.
And listen, if you like light years or tigers or Papa Bears like Rocha, we got something for everybody here at the Geek Buddies. And we would love to keep doing what we're doing, and we need your help to do it. So if you could smash that like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, definitely leave us some comments. Let us know what you thought of this episode. What are you excited about Eternals? What are you worried about Eternals? What did you think of the trailers? You excited about Hayden Christensen? Are you excited about Brendan Fraser? Like, give us all of your thoughts on that. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere where podcasts are available, take a minute right now. If you're out on your walk, out on a jog, whatever you're doing, give us some stars, leave a quick comment, help us go up in the rankings for more people to find us. And as always, the best thing that you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, and let everybody know that if they want to have the most exciting and thrilling and red t-shirted geeky content around, Geek Buddies is the place to do it.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching or listening to us, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here from the
Geek
Buddies!